Alright, welcome back. In this second part, I'm going to talk about the layout that I have now. If you remember in part one of layout, I started rearranging my panels into my story and resizing them to indicate which ones I thought were more important. And as you can see here, some of the positions have changed since we last talked. I've got my reaction here sandwiched between the tire event that introduces the story and then the unhappy epic journey that I need to make to the school without the car. I personally made this one larger here because I like the environment. It's supposed to be a nice, beautiful, woodsy scene. This is supposed to indicate some sort of relief and transition from this possibly desert area that he travels to, and then as he gets closer to the school there's forest, waterfall, pleasant, and then finally another reaction shot as he looks at the epic hill that he has to climb in order to get to the school. And then finally he makes it to the top, sees the door, walks in, here comes the kids, and he's there already, the big smile on his face. Alright, so there is my rough layout using my rough sketches, and something that would make this read a lot easier is if we put some proper frames around some of these images. So we have snapping turned back on, and we'll grab a rectangle and we'll use our snapping tool to get to the corner of these boxes, and we have to make sure that enough of these options are on so that it works. Let's see, snap to bounding box corners, that's what we want. That way as we draw our frame, there we go, handle to corner. Okay, so notice that we still have our nice pretty red color here. We want to turn that off, so let's click this. And you can see it already does have a border. And let's turn Keymon on. And we need to grab our timer so that we don't go over our time. This border could be a lot thicker so that we could see it. And let's change the opacity back to 100. So to change the stroke, we bring up the fill and stroke palette, Shift Control F, or it's also this guy up here, and we want stroke style. And I prefer pixels or points. Let's go with 2, see where that gets us. Let's try 4. Make it nice and bold. Alright, so there we have one frame. And I'm going to duplicate this and hold down the Control key so it constrains to a horizontal scale. Let's bring this in. And I would like to find the corner of this box. It's right there, though. There we go. And probably the best thing to do is if I hold down the Shift key and select my image, I can then group these. And let's turn off snapping. Clean this up a little bit. And you can see that I have sort of cropped my image here. I'm going to hit Control-C to copy this box before I turn it into a clip. And then I'm going to go to the Edit menu and paste in place so I get my box back. Hold down Shift to select my image and Control-G to group. And grouping is also under here. You can group and ungroup objects to make selection and moving things around a lot easier. Alright, so already this looks a lot nicer up here. A little bit easier to read. The spacing might not be even, so let's take a look at the Align palette. It kind of looks a little tighter over here, right? So could zoom in so we can see the space. And the Align palette can be brought up here. Align and distribute. That is a keyboard command too. Shift-Control-A. And we want to evenly distribute the space between these. So if I click this, oh, the space is already pretty equal. Alright, so we don't have to worry about that so much. Let's go to our next row here. And let's paste that box that we had earlier, just so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel in terms of getting the... Let's see, where's our box here? Oh, we have snap turned off. Silly me. There we go. And is that it right there? Yep. Shift Control, both of those items. So they're both selected, and then I can group them. And what I should have done before grouping them, let's ungroup them. So it's Control-Shift-G to ungroup. And we want to bring a copy of this over here for this panel. And I'm copying it so that we get the same height. So they're nice clean rows. And then we can group them. Right? Okay. And there's just one big one here. Alright. And group that guy. And there's a couple panels in this one. And they're overlapping. And to copy this, I click on the object, and before I start dragging, I tap the spacebar. Every time you tap the spacebar while dragging an object, each tap of the spacebar spits out a copy of that object. Let's turn off snapping so we can get some separation here. So I'm going to copy this one, because I'm also going to use it as a clipping mask. And you can't see that, so if we go up here, clip, set, and then paste in place the copy that I made. There we go. So let's hide this, and let's hide the guides. Alright, there we go, guides. And let's zoom in and take a look here. What we got. Alright, so things don't quite match up here. For a rough layout, that's fine. This is looking pretty good. Now, if you're on a team, I would recommend that you give this rough layout to a teammate, and they can go in and put in all your dialog boxes. You know, if you're going to do narration, let's see, we don't want any, well, if you want a stroke, then it just won't be as thick, right? So let's go to pixels. Whoa. Alright. But you might want a fill. Usually narration boxes have like this yellow color to them. And then you can take your text tool And I clicked my mouse. You don't want to click your text tool here. Let's see, undo move handle. You want to click and drag, create a text box. So this would be narrative text, blah, blah. Okay? Don't forget you can always zoom in, get a closer look at things. And the reason for creating a click and drag text box as opposed to just a click is that your text is contained. You know, if you have longer, greater amounts of copy in your story, then it's easier for the text to flow in a text box. Alright, so there's the introduction of my story. One day Rabbi Ritchie woke up and his tire was flat. Frown. And then there might be another narrative text box here about how he lives so far away from school and has to walk now. Perhaps. Meanwhile, another artist on your team can start creating refined sketches for each of these panels. You can start that in your sketchbook, and then what we'll do is we'll scan them in and put them in Inkscape, and then you can create that art in Inkscape from scratch, or you can go to photography or openclipart.org and hopefully grab similar items to what you need for your story. And then you can come back together and copy and paste these bits into one document. I would also recommend that you use layers. If we hit Shift-Control-L and bring up our layers palette, we can double-click on this name and call this rough layout, right? We can create a new layer and call it script. And if I draw a box around just these narrative items here and cut them, Control-X, and make sure I have my script layer selected up here, so it's highlighted in blue, then I can go to the Edit menu and Paste in Place. So now, if you hide the script layer, you can see that it is on its own layer, separate from the rough layout. So that's another strategy for working on this project here. So let's see what we talked about. Finished my layout, reasons for panel placement. We added borders so it was easier to read. We covered some swatches, straw fill panel, grouping objects, and great, that covers it. So thank you for watching, and get to work. Hope to see some great stories come into shape soon. Bye-bye.